G'day, my name's Ethan White and I'm a teenager who hosts Off the Couch with Ethan, a camping-based travel show aimed to get teenagers and their families off the couch and into the great outdoors to visit the stunning places that this country has to offer. Over the past few episodes, I've been on my central South Australian road trip. But in this episode, I'm heading off-road, showcasing some hidden gems that the South Australian Outback has to offer. I'll be stopping at places like the one where I'm at now, Lake Eyre.
I got these fresh eyes.
So in my previous episode, I began my journey on my central South Australia road trip. I've already been to some pretty awesome places like the Super Long Jetty in Port Germain. I've walked through the Tunnel of Time at the Oodnadatta Outback Centre in Port Augusta, checked out the Australian Arid Lands Botanic Garden, and I've investigated the pretty cool town of Woomera. But now I'm continuing on from Woomera to an outback town 560 kilometres north of Adelaide. It's Roxby Downs.
I can't believe that she's mine. Now,
Roxby Downs is a town nestled right in the heart of the South Australian Outback. Now the town was built to cater for all the people and their families that worked at the Olympic Dam mine just 20 k's away. Now, even though the town really is in the centre of South Australia, you'll be so surprised about all the activities that Roxby has to offer. Cassie from the Roxby Info Centre explains how important the town is to residents involved with Olympic Dam.
So Roxby, we're a purpose-built town out here to support the Olympic Dam mine site project. So out at Olympic Dam they mine copper, but also uranium, gold and silver, so 4 different products from the one site here. The town itself first opened in 1988, but this year we're turning 30, so celebrating our 30th year this year, so building up a little bit of history.
Another awesome project Roxby and Olympic Dam support is the Arid Recovery Project.
Arid Recovery is a conservation reserve that the mine site support, and restoring the arid lands here, but also trying to repopulate the bilbies, batongs, bandicoots and such back into this area, which outside of that fence are extinct.
The town is quite modern with all the facilities that you'll find in the city. It's an oasis in the middle of the desert.
The town itself is a experience in itself in that we're an outback town, but we're a very young town, very modern, and the facilities that are set up here for us are amazing.
And Cassie explains why she thinks visiting the outback is such a tremendous experience.
So you've got the chance that you can go just outside of town, stargaze for the night, set up your camera, do some photography work. You've got the wildlife here, and we're also really close to the Oodnadatta Track, so a good gateway to head up to explore that area as well, going up towards Maree and William Creek.
Roxby Downs, a suburban town in the middle of nowhere. Well, now it's time for me to hit the wide open, dusty roads. We're now going to be travelling along the Borefield and Oodnadatta tracks from Roxby Downs up to William Creek. Now when you do these tracks, it's good to know your vehicle. Make sure you understand whether your vehicle can suit these tracks and be sure to let someone know where you're going, just in case anything goes wrong. But the main part is, have fun. Now out here in this vast and desolate land actually lies the largest water source in the world. It's called the Great Artesian Basin. You see, about 100 million years ago, sea levels rose and the northeastern part of Australia was completely flooded. Now when this water receded back to the ocean, a huge empty lake was left over, about 3 kilometres deep. Over millions of years, rainwater filled up this empty lake, but meanwhile soil began covering the lake, trapping the rainwater below the surface. That trapped rainwater is now what makes up the enormous 1.7 million square kilometres of the basin, about the size of South Australia and New South Wales combined. The basin holds an absolutely staggering 65,000 cubic kilometres of water, or about 65 quadrillion litres. So when Matthew Flinders was looking for an inland sea, he wasn't far off. Anyway, my first stop on the Oodnadatta Track is a perfect example of the Great Artesian Basin in action. It's the Bubbler. Now when you think of the desert, you don't often think of places like this. I'm at the Bubbler in the Mound Springs Conservation Park, just off the Oodnadatta Track. Now this place is filled with water, and every now and then you get bursts of bubbles that prop fresh bore water from the Great Artesian Basin out onto the surface. It's pretty amazing considering it's just desert, desert, desert water. The Bubbler is without a doubt a pretty cool place to stop when you're travelling along the Oodnadatta Track. Our next stop is literally just around the corner from the Bubbler. 750 kilometres north of Adelaide, it's Coward Springs Station, a place where you can camp, ride camels, go on safaris, and of course relax in the natural pool. How good's this? Here at Coward Springs, you can just sit and relax in the naturally spring-fed spa. And the funny part is, you gotta remember, you're in the middle of the desert. So after my refreshing dip, we continued onto the iconic outback town of William Creek. Now the William Creek Hotel is one of the most remote pubs in the world, and with a permanent population of around 10 people, has got to be one of the smallest towns in South Australia. Now the town used to be a train stopover along the Garden Railway line. Workers on trains needed a place to stop over for the night and of course have a drink. Hence the William Creek Hotel was built. Today, the pub is an iconic Aussie landmark with travelling tourists from all around the world visiting to check it out. Flight tours from the William Creek airfield are also available to take you up and above Lake Eyre and witness the astonishing views that the vast lake has to offer. Anyway, William Creek, a great stopover on the long and dusty Oodnadatta Track. After the break, I'll be visiting the spectacular Lake Eyre and the opal capital of the world, Coober Pedy. Welcome back guys. Before the break, I started my second leg of my Central South Australia road trip. But now, I'm heading across from William Creek, 700 kilometres north of Adelaide, right in the heart of the South Australian Outback, to Australia's largest lake, sort of, Lake Eyre. Well, here I am at Caddy Thunder Lake Eyre, a huge salt lake that's about 200 kilometres long and 100 kilometres wide in the northern regions of South Australia. At 12 metres below sea level, Lake Eyre is the lowest point in Australia, and you might not think of it now, but due to its such low elevation, floodwaters from the tropical parts of Australia, like in Queensland, don't flow out to sea, they actually flow into the Lake Eyre basin. Just standing here on the edge of Lake Eyre gives you this sense of isolation, like you're a tiny dot on a massive planet. It's just remarkable. Lake Eyre is one of the most flattest, empty and barest regions in Australia. If you wandered too far from the lake's edge, you can picture how easy it would be to get lost and not know which way to go back. So I'm going to show you a quick and easy trick that might just help you find your way again. So I'm going to show you a quick and easy trick that might just save your life when you're in the desert. I'm going to show you how to find north with nothing but your wristwatch. So all you got to do if you've got an analog wristwatch is point the 12 on your watch at the sun. And then the point in between the hour hand and the 12 is north. So for example, it's 10 o'clock here at the moment. So if I point the 12 at the sun and the hour hand is just over here a bit. Where the 11 is north. Now if you don't have an analog wristwatch, but you've got a digital wristwatch, that's easy too. All you got to do is draw a clock in the ground. So if I put a stick in the ground here to mark the shadow, which is like the direction of the sun, and I'll put a 12, a 3 and a 6 and a 9. Right now it's 10 o'clock like I said, so the 10 hour hand's there. So in between the shadow and the 10, that direction there is north. Might just save your life one day. Lake Eyre is such an amazing and iconic spot. Just the vastness and size of the lake is incomprehensible unless you go out and visit Lake Eyre yourself. And if you time it right, you'll be able to visit Lake Eyre when it floods, which will create an entirely different experience. Caddy Thunder Lake Eyre, Australia's most barren region, yet one of the most spectacular parts of the country.
Welcome to my house. It's my house.
My next destination on my Central South Australia road trip is 850 kilometres north of Adelaide. It's the opal capital of the world, Coober Pedy. Now Coober Pedy has got to be one of the most unique towns in Australia. Because of Coober Pedy's extremely hot climate, most of its citizens and businesses all live and work underground. The naturally hard sandstone is dug out to become walls, floor and a ceiling, providing an ideal living temperature all year round. Now one place that's no exception from this is Ribba's underground caravan park. What might look like an ordinary caravan park from the outside is definitely one of a kind. So I thought I'd better go check it out. Here at Ribba's underground caravan park, if you've got a tent or a swag, you can actually camp underground in these dugouts. It's nice and warm in here in winter, and I bet you in summer, under here's the place to be. Not only do they have underground camping, but an opal mine is also on the property. The park owner Rick tells me why he loves Coober Pedy so much and why he's so interested in opals.
We came to Coober Pedy, we were travelling around Australia looking for a warmer climate, and if somebody had told us it would have been Coober Pedy, I'd have said no, I don't think so. But when we got here we found some really nice people, and the opal mine was really interesting. We were going to stay here for 6 or 12 months. It's about 25 years ago. It's such a good place, we stayed.
This unique town also has quite a unique history. Rick told me about the remarkable story about how opal was discovered out here.
Opal was first discovered out here by a young fellow by the name of Willie Hutchison. He was about 14, he was with a party of men, his father being one of them. Came up here looking for new gold fields. Searching for the gold, young Willie found some opal. That's how it all got discovered and started.
Coober Pedy also has a range of spectacular natural wonders.
It's got some unique, like there's a place called the Breakaways, it's got some unique scenery. And I mean, the opal fields themselves are quite unique, you just don't see nothing like it.
Rick also conducts tours through the old opal mine, showcasing the history and process of opal mining in Coober Pedy.
You expect something different really, because I built the place to be different. And yeah, we've got the world's only underground camping, along with the normal powered sites and unpowered sites. And of course, it's got to be the only place in the world that's got an opal mine, or any sort of mine, on the park. So we do tours through the mine. If you haven't got any camping gear or anything, we've got the budget rooms down there, which are a basic room, but they give the experience without having to pay the motel prices.
And Rick agrees with me that this town is such a unique place with things that you just won't see anywhere else.
Yeah, the amazing thing about Coober Pedy and the Outback here is Coober Pedy is pretty unique to the world, in my opinion, because it's the only place in the world with opal mining. 80% of the world's opal comes from here, but it's unique in the way that we're able to live underground, the way we're able to mine without shoring it up and having any problems like that. It's largely unnoticed, and yet it's in the backyard of South Australia, and anybody nearby should come and just investigate the place. You need to investigate it to really know understand about the place. Beats sitting at home watching the TV, doesn't it? Hey, you're not learning nothing, getting brain dead.
Rivers Underground Caravan Park. It's a pretty unique place to stay in a pretty unique town. After the break, I'm going to meet up with opal expert Nick, who's going to tell me all about Australia's gemstone. Welcome back everyone. One of my final destinations on my Central South Australia road trip is here, the opal capital of the world, Coober Pedy. I've already checked out a pretty unique caravan park, and now I'm going to check out another pretty unique place. Oodnadatta Opal Mine and Museum is an underground, you guessed it, opal mine and museum, right in the heart of Coober Pedy. Now this place has a free opal museum, tours through an opal mine, and of course an opal jewellery shop. Manager Nick took me through the mine and told me everything that Oodnadatta has to offer.
Oodnadatta Opal Mine is a tourist complex that's the largest in Coober Pedy. We have mine tours which showcase, of course, Coober Pedy's early mining history, explaining how it worked. We've got fossil displays from the South Australian Museum which explain the importance of opalised fossils here in Coober Pedy. And of course we showcase, Coober Pedy's Aboriginal heritage as well as mining heritage as well.
The mine tour that Oodnadatta offers is absolutely fantastic. It gives you first-hand experience of what it's like to be an opal miner.
What Oodnadatta hopes to achieve is to give your everyday tourist a complete picture of what happened here from the beginning up until today. So the mine tour starts off in our underground cinema. You'll see a short documentary, The Story of Opal. It gives you a good understanding of what opal is, why it's found here and why Australian opal is considered the best. And then we take the group through underground home displays, one from the 1920s underground home and then a modern day home, and explain the differences between the two. And then after that, we go down into our opal mine and we take people through and explain the mining activities from both hand digging, what happened in the early days, all the way through to modern mining techniques.
Nick tells me all about our national gemstone, opal.
Well, a lot of Australians may not know it, but opal, the gemstone, is our national gemstone. Opal was promoted to a lot of Australians early on as bad luck. When Australian opal was found to be some of the best in the world, certain companies didn't like that and started promoting opal as bad luck. So with a lot of older Australians, you see a lot of things where they don't like opal. But of course, over the years, it's really taking hold now, and Australians are really embracing their stone. So we're starting to see new life in Australians loving opal.
As you've seen, Coober Pedy is such a unique place, and you just don't see anything else like it anywhere else. Teenagers and your families, you really just have to come up to this place to see how awesome it is.
Coober Pedy is famous really for two things, and that is opals and underground. Now, that I know of, Adelaide and other parts of Australia don't have too much in the way of underground living and so forth and activities. So it's a good time for people to journey up here and have a look around, because you can stay underground, you can see what it's all about, why we like it underground, and of course you can see all the businesses, the art galleries, the museums like mine, even hotels which are all completely underground. So you can see things that happen like in Adelaide, but all underground.
Coober Pedy is a prime location as a base, so you can further explore nearby areas. Coming up here, setting up camp, then exploring further is a must.
Coober Pedy is the gateway to the Outback. Close by, we've got the Breakaways Conservation Reserve, we've got the dog fence, we've got all these unique things that aren't far away, so people can, as you mentioned before, you can do a lot of things. You can head out to Oodnadatta, you can go to Lake Eyre and base yourself at Coober Pedy and do quite a number of activities while you're here.
And Nick has quite a strong message about why teenagers and their families should come up here.
Of course, opal is valuable. Now, opal miners have been declining since the 90s. We started off in the 90s, average age of an opal miner was 24, and sadly today it's in the 60s. So teenagers and families should come up here, because You never know. You could find opal, and the opal is always increasing in value. So you never know. What might turn into a quick trip down to the jeweller's shop, which is the noodling area, you may come away with a prized gem.
Oodnadatta Opal Miner Museum is a must. It's a pretty awesome place that can tell you heaps about this pretty awesome town. Well, that nearly wraps up my road trip. Central South Australia really is quite a unique part of the world. In what might seem a barren and empty landscape lies some hidden gems, so to speak, and spectacular places. Sometimes you might even find something where you least expect it. One thing I just love doing is pulling up on the side of the road or at your campsite and going for a wander. You might be surprised how much stuff you can find wandering aimlessly around the South Australian outback. For example, you might walk along the Garn railway line. You might find some nice flowers, some pretty birds, or like myself, you might even find a camel skull. Now that concludes my Central South Australia road trip. I hope I've showed you a few of the awesome sights that South Australia's outback has to offer. Teenagers and your families, going on a road trip through Central South Australia, or anywhere for that matter, is such an awesome way to spend time together, see this amazing country and have a great time. Now it's your turn to get off the couch and go out and visit the Central South Australian outback. Well, that concludes my Central South Australian road trip. I hope I have inspired teenagers and their families to get off the couch and come and visit Central South Australia. It's such a great area. Make sure you head to my website, offthecouchwithethan.com.au, where you can catch up on all the latest episodes, and make sure you like me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram to keep up to date with my travels and check out some bonus camping tips. Well, I hope I have inspired teenagers and their families to come up to Central South Australia. It's such a great spot. I'll see you on my next trip. They actually flood into Lake Eyre and fill up Lake Eyre. Oh, that's bad. But you've got a digital wristwatch. It's not. Showcasing places for teenagers and their families to stay. Me on Instagram to keep up to date with some travels. Oh, I messed it up, damn. You're in the middle of the desert. It's such a great spot, especially in the winter months to escape the winty weather. Thought I'd put that in there.